Hi everyone, I'm Christina. Welcome back to my channel, Time for Truth. Today I'm holding a cup that is a happy camper cup, and it says, "Campers have s'more fun." Isn't that cute? So we hike and camp and, travel around to different places and explore nature. I'm gonna pour a DP in there. It's a Dr. Pepper kind of day now that I'm back to feeling brave enough to get in front of the camera, because I had such a good day the other day when I posted, and then the next day I posted and we were trying out new microphones and things, trying, trial and error. That one was an error because we couldn't hear anything because the little doodad has a magnet and it clipped somehow onto my computer when I moved my laptop up, and that was the end of that. So I kind of took a break yesterday from being in front of the camera, kind of to just do a reset, because it's kind of like, I don't know, it's a little hard to be in front of a camera and talk about things, real things about my own self. So I'm working through that bravely. You might see behind me, I have an assortment of what are walking sticks. And so today's kind of topic, if there's going to be a topic, is about hiking the path of life. I also have on, I hiked a very short section of the Appalachian Trail, which, I have done with my husband, and also on an overnight years and years ago at a Hawk Mountain, which was amazing. Just to acquaint myself with the Appalachian Trail, with getting out in nature. When I first got sober, I actually did a organized trip through I guess it was a southeastern Pennsylvania AA, and went up to the Pocono Mountains. It was just like getting in touch with nature was a big part of my healing after coming out of years of alcoholism. So anyway, that's the intro for today, is hiking the path of life. And I'm feeling like a happy camper today, better than yesterday. So I'd like to start off with a little moment of positivity. So let's do this. Other things that I keep on my refrigerator, this is one that I've had rolling around with me for quite some time now. It's by that seekpeace.com. I have no idea if that's still in existence. But this talks about the rules for being human. And it resonates with me because it hits on a lot of different areas of life in a pretty short blurb. So I'm going to read the rules for being human. And you can see it's got a little fading out spot there. So you will receive a body. You may like it or hate it, but it will be yours for the entire period this time around. You will learn lessons. You are enrolled in a full-time informal school called life. Each day in the school, you will have the opportunity to learn lessons. You may like the lessons or think them irrelevant and stupid. There are no mistakes, only lessons. Growth is a process of trial and error, experimentation. The failed experiments are as much a part of the process of the experiment that ultimately works. A lesson is repeated until learned. A lesson will be presented to you in various forms until you have learned it. When you have learned it, you can then go on to the next lesson. There is no better than here. When your there has become a here, you will simply obtain another there that will again look better than here. That's a lot right there, and it's hard to kind of take all that in, but That's how it's said. And then, others are merely mirrors of you. You cannot love or hate something about another person unless it reflects to you something you love or hate about yourself. What you make of your life is up to you. You have all the tools and resources you need. What you do with them is up to you. The choice is yours. Your answers lie inside of you. The answers to life's questions lie inside you. All you need to do is look, listen, and trust. And then at the very bottom it says, you will forget all this, which is very true, because I have forgotten those simple, that simple recipe for a good life is sometimes forgotten in the quest to do the next thing or go to the next place, or be distracted by whatever the shiny, bright, flashy thing is. And what I've learned over my lifetime, and in particular over the past year and a half, has been that, I have to forge my own path. Like, nobody is out there, with the weed whacker, like, making the path straight for me. I have to do that. So the hiking that we've even done over the course of my treatments has been life-saving. Absolutely life-saving, just to get out in nature, to experience the fresh air, the fresh perspective on life, even dealing with the pain and suffering post-surgical. I made a treatment plan, my own mental health wellness plan. And because we have the means and the equipment to travel and to camp, I thought, you know what, I'm going to make some plans so that in between these really scary treatments, I have something to look forward to that will help me to get through whatever is coming my way. And so we did that, and we were enriched. I was enriched by those outings. And I also shared about them with my medical providers in the beginning, because I wanted for them to feel a part of my treatment team, that we are all in this together. Is there the name of someone that, you would like for us to take up on the Appalachian Trail and, say their name out loud in nature? And it was astonishing. I had to start writing them down, because there were so many responses from medical personnel of names that they gave us, entrusted to us, their loved one, whatever the story was behind the name. We took that name up on the trail and had a little ceremony to honor the people that meant something to those who are now providing care to me. It was a way for me to feel a connection to them, to build a relationship, and then to also build a relationship with nature so that I could help to heal myself, body, mind, and spirit. And we had some incredible encounters at those outings in the Shenandoah Mountains, and that one in particular, because it's always good to talk to the locals, make a friend. And we like to visit cemeteries. That's one of the things that I have an interest in, or the history of old churches and cemeteries. So I scope those out before we arrive at our next destination, so that I can, go to that church, go to that graveyard, go to that cemetery. And we've even met people, two come to mind straight away. The most recent being a roadside graveyard that we passed by because another car was there, and we saw people in the field at the cemetery, and we traveled on to do another thing we wanted to do. And as we came back by, they were still kind of there, so it looked like they might be leaving, so we pulled off, and we ended up chatting at the side of the road at this old cemetery with the locals. And it ended up being a brother and a sister, and the brother was local and the sister was visiting from Virginia. And I said, oh, we're in Virginia. And she mentioned the little county where I spent 4 years in my adolescent years in Virginia. And I mentioned the name of the new school that had gone in. In fact, my little brother was the first year that it opened. He was a student there. And her eyes got really wide open, and she said, how do you know about that school? And I said, because we lived in the neighborhood where it opened. That was her first year teaching, and it was at that school. So that was a connection. She like gave me a big hug, and you know, her brother was just like astounded. My husband standing there like, oh boy, here we are again, you know, with these nothing is by coincidence encounters. And you know, when you travel and get, you know, popped into a new location, one thing that I've learned to do is to ask the locals. So, you know, here we had this couple, not couple, but, you know, this brother and sister. And so we said, well, you know, we're here hiking, biking, doing all the exploring. You know, where would you recommend, you know, our next hike? And come to find out, he lived up on the mountain and recommended the hike that we did, which is called Kennedy Peak in Virginia. And it was a hard hike, and he warned us. Like, he told us that is a hike. You look it up, you know, do your research, and you can see the shirt that I have on. I hiked a small section of the Appalachian Trail. So I'm not an avid hiker. Like, I can hike and my husband can hike, but we're not like gung-ho kind of, you know, we're going to the Swiss Alps to do some mountaineering. So we're in, you know, I believe that was outside of Luray. Anyway, we went up to Kennedy Peak. It was a trailhead where hang gliders actually take off from, which was very interesting. So what we do is we prepare ourselves for whatever hike we're going to do. We look up the weather, we look up the trail, we look up what's around. You know, I look up news reports of current events. We try to be as prepared as we can. And that brings me to the topic of, you know, we're all hiking this path called life. And every day it's different. Excuse me, we don't know if we're going to be on an ascent or a descent, if we're going to be on, you know, firm ground, if we're going to be on, you know, unstable ground. You know, I'm just trying to envision, you know, a new way of moving forward with these new normals that I now have to, you know, adapt to. So hiking is a way that I can compare the strength it takes to even think of doing a hike, planning a hike, researching a hike, preparing for it, making sure you have everything, and then embarking on that hike. And that day, you know, we were as prepared as we could be. We had done all the things. We knew what we were up against to the best of our ability. And we packed all of our gear. We kind of sort of knew where the trailhead was, but we knew we could find it because there's a big mountain. You can only go a couple ways. So we arrived at the trailhead, and we start out early in the morning because we're early risers. So we made it to the trailhead, and there was one other car parked there. We assessed the roadway. It was like a roundabout turn coming off the upper mountain at the trailhead. So we didn't really want to be on that side where those cars are making that turn. So we ended up moving over to the far side toward the actual entrance of the path. And it was closer to that car that was already there, which is a normal thing for a trailhead to have, you know, cars. And then we had also learned that this was a launch point for these air gliders. So as we came around to that car, I realized that there was actually somebody in the vehicle. And so, you know, I am hypervigilant by nature. and I assessed, that it was a person that was sitting in their vehicle, that was on the phone, and that was it. So I get out of the truck, doing all the things, getting things together, and then the person got out of the vehicle that he was in, and he was still on his phone, and he began asking us if we knew where the Greyhound bus station was. So there were some factors of which we were able to assess even before we started getting our gear together to take the hike, that we, profiled about this person, or at least I did, because I profile people based on past history. My own personal experiences, I've learned to be hypervigilant and to profile people and situations. So this was completely out of character for where we were and what was going on. This person was in no way geared up to take any kind of a hike or air glide, and was asking us for directions while we're up on a mountain where the Greyhound bus station is. So we had our GoPro going. We told the person we do not know where there's a Greyhound bus station. It was odd, but we kind of discarded our concerns and went ahead and packed up our gear and got on the path. It was an amazing hike. We put that incident behind us. We just figured if anything's going to happen to our vehicle, it's there. We're going on a hike. We have the equipment that we need in the event that something goes south on the path, and there's nothing in our Jeep of value. So if that person decides to burglarize our vehicle, that's what it'll be. So these are the decisions that we have to make along the path of life, because we don't always get an RSVP. Hey, when you pull up to the trailhead, there's going to be, so-and-so there, and this is going to happen, and it's going to be very out of character for the surroundings and everything else. But we, use hiking sticks. I've actually displayed some of them behind me because we have some really cool ones. And my husband really got into the whole scene of the hiking sticks. So now we use hiking poles, which are lighter and adjustable. And these are ones that were from our prior collections. And he actually found a person on Etsy who does the carving. And these really are quite spectacular. These are an actual work of art. And I'm going to see if I can pull this down into the camera a little bit, just so that you can see the detailing on this. It's the Wizard walking stick, and the person who created this also created the one that's behind my head, which is the dragon. And so yeah, we do our hiking and our biking, and we try to be prepared when we're on the path. We encounter other hikers. We're prepared that some paths, hiking trails allow dogs, some don't. And we've, had some incidences even out in nature. So I recognize now that, even going to the grocery store, even going to running my regular errands, I'm embarking on the path of life. I need to be prepared for the situation that can happen on the trail. And it doesn't include like water filtration, because I'm carrying my, my Dr. Pepper or my coconut water. I tend to drink, 3 drinks at a time. So clearly I'm prepared for hydration on this path of this path that I'm on in life. But when we go out into nature, we have to prepare ourselves. And I learned to do that by remaining vigilant, by remaining aware of who's around me and what's happening, by trying to prepare myself for what could happen, which is at times very exhausting, because it typically is never what you expect it's going to be or might be. It's something completely and totally different. So we did that hike that day up to Kennedy Peak. There's a shelter at the top. It's amazing. You have 360-degree views all the way around. We stopped along the way and had a ceremony to say the names out loud of those that we had gathered, and thought of the person who had given us that name, because on the list that I ended up making, which was a full sheet of paper and on the back too, I wanted to correlate the names of the people that had given us their loved one's name for whatever reason. And we also encountered another group of people at another of it was the second hiking trip, and I'll share about that in a whole other episode. But we came back from that trip with the remains of a family's loved one who was trying to get his remains to the beach that he loved, which was Ocean City, Maryland. And we're about an hour from Ocean City, Maryland. So we offered to take his remains and do a little ceremony. And we did. And then we sent them some video and some sand and that kind of stuff. So on the path of life, we never ever know who we're going to encounter, what the situation's going to be. And the best that any of us can do is to be as prepared as we can, to maintain our own sense of decorum and dignity, to learn something new, because certainly we're going to learn the lessons, and they're going to be presented to us in various forms, just like walking sticks. They all serve a similar function, but they all have their own pizzazz and sass and uniqueness, and where they are placed is never in the same place at the same time. So it's always a learning process. And I hope that you all can make the connection with me about the path of life, hiking trails. I watched a mother and daughter duo hike the Appalachian Trail while I was recovering from these surgeries and treatments over the last year and a half, and they truly did inspire me. They made me remember my time doing the overnighter out of Hawk Mountain. They reminded me of how much communing with nature my husband and I do when we're out and about and make our planned hikes, and how connected to this planet and to myself I feel when I allow myself to be led on the path, whether it's the path in the forest, whether it's the path in life, whether it's the path to the grocery store, to wherever I need to go to. It's a path, and I have to find my way there and not forget to look for the angels along the way, because the angels are everywhere among us. So I'm looking forward to talking with an angel that I met at the dentist this week, a couple days ago, which was another reason why I didn't post yesterday, because I'm undergoing dental concerns all in conjunction with some of the cancer treatments and then some new things that have come about. And shout out to my dentist who, is a new dentist for me, and he's doing all the things to make it right. And, his staff is fantastic too. So I just want to close this little talk by saying that the angels among us, we have to look for, but they're there all the time. And the angels that I met in the waiting room at the dentist, I can't wait. We've been texting already, and we'll have lunch, and I know that I'm going to be enriched once again while embarking bravely on my own path in my own life, which sometimes includes the dentist that I don't even want to go to, but I do. And then I'm rewarded. I'm enriched. And I'm blessed by that, truly. So thank you for stopping by my channel. Thank you for listening to these little chats that I offer up. Thank you for taking an interest in, who I am and what I'm doing. And I just want to share this other piece of art that came. and it actually is quite fantastic. I'm going to try and bring it down into the camera. But my husband and I were playing Dragonvale. It's an online game. I didn't know anything about those things when I met my husband, but he did. And so we started playing Dragonvale. And then he found this guy on Etsy that makes these incredible walking sticks. I'll have to find the information and give that guy a shout out. But that's today's talk, and thanks again for stopping by. My name's Christina. This is Time for Truth, and I'm really enjoying being able to offer up my thoughts in lieu of seeking mental health therapy. This is pretty much what it is. I'm talking about the things that happened that that I have now reached a new plateau above. And now I'm going to take a look at all of those things and what were the lessons, the hardship that I incurred, the challenges that I'm still dealing with, but that I'm prepared for, whether it be a walking stick, whether it be my own intellect, whether it be the practical application of the tools that I've put into my tool belt along the path that I have walked. And so thank you today for walking the path with me, and I'll be making another couple of videos. Like, I'm going to talk about a couple of different topics and schedule those for release. I'm learning more about YouTube and what I can do, like with the little picking out a little thumbnail before I post a video. It's all just so fascinating, and I love to be learning. So I wish you all health and wellness, and always happy trails. All right, I'll catch y'all later. Bye.